Way out in the land down under, a famous little gray puff gremlin spends its days as a literal tree hugger. Like its equally famous black and white counterpart in China, the panda, the koala is a threatened cutie that eats terribly, sleeps a lot, and gives its kids a good old-fashioned fecal smoothie in order to not die to the poison it eats every day. But as we often tell our kids, sometimes you gotta find a way to eat your leafy greens here in life, death, and taxonomy.
Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube or Spotify.
And thank you to Johanna for the creation of this week's artwork. To check that out, you can visit us at our home on the web at ldtaxonomy.com. And a very special thank you to our patrons, to Jesse Raspulich, Carol Raspulich, Richard Kaspar, and our new patrons, Lottie and Aubrey. Thank you so much for your support. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on.
And today we're talking about an arboreal ignoramus, but more on that later.
Oh, you read that it's dumb too?
Yeah.
I looked at that. We could talk about it later, but I looked at that and I was like, but doesn't this describe a lot of animals? Most animals are pretty dumb.
It's
in comparison to like
kingdom,
dolphins.
It's a comparison thing. Yeah.
Or us. But yeah, what are we talking about?
The koala.
Koala. We always call it the koala bear for some reason. I don't know why that started. It looks nothing like a bear.
It does look a lot like it climbs trees like a baby bear.
It climbs trees.
Nothing like a bear is an insane thing to say when you consider that it looks something like a bear.
It's covered in fur. I guess.
Or bears. Yeah, exactly.
No, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't really have
chunky,
that much in common with bears, except for that
it's chunky. It's round. It doesn't have a tail. It climbs trees with its claws. It's got like the round bear ears, a round face like a bear.
It's sort of sloths.
The beady little trailer park eyes like a bear.
Sloths. It looks like a sloth.
It looks like if it was a spectrum between sloth and bear, it would definitely be closer to bear.
No, I definitely think it's closer to sloth because of the way
Sloths
it moves.
Have those long necks.
So, it's got the way that it climbs
and the spindly arms.
Climbs up the trees and its long claws.
It's got a tiny face, a sloth. It's got long limbs.
Koalas have tiny faces. They have this huge puffy face, the puffy head, and there's a little face in the middle.
Well, if you're listening to this,
bears have that distinct, like canid, like snout, like a protruding snout. Which this koala shares none of that DNA with.
Well, I mean, it doesn't share any DNA with a sloth or a bear.
At least a sloth has like a flat face, and so does a relatively flat face, and so does a koala. Or a kinkajou.
Let us know if it,
like a lemur
where
kind of
you
thing.
Think it lines up on the spectrum of bear. And I had to throw my phone. Like, it is buzzing off the rails.
So is mine. I just can't imagine seeing a koala for the first time and being like, it's a bear. Like, it's just like, it's so far removed that it doesn't compute to me. I'd be like, that's like seeing a fox for the first time and being like, oh look, it's a dog.
I mean, Martin Luther.
Yeah,
Marco Polo thought a rhinoceros was a unicorn.
But he's not wrong. Because it
does
does
have one
horn.
It does have one corn. Would you like to know what this thing is called scientifically, or would you like to tell us?
Yeah, we got some nicknames. It's called the well, I guess this is appropriate based on your intro, but it's called the dumb beer bee. In one
Dumb baby.
in one Aboriginal language, it's called the Marambi in another Aboriginal language. But in the Aboriginal language of Darug,
Sandstorm.
it's called sandstorm. It's called the koala, which is where we get the word from, and it means no drink or no water.
For the rest of your days?
It means no water. That song just took a really dark turn. But we're gonna call it here the Stinky Stitch, because Stitch looks like a koala, and not like a bear.
You're insane.
He is a. I'm insane. Look at Stitch's nose and look at a koala's nose. And Jim Jones Joey, which hopefully will become apparent.
Jim Jones.
Yes, that'll become apparent later.
Would you like to know what science has to call it?
Sure.
They're in the kingdom you know, love, and are in the kingdom Animalia. They're in the phylum Chordata, which of course means they have a, what is it?
A thyroid, a notochord,
a pharyngeal slit,
pharyngeal slits, and a tail.
They're in the class Mammalia. They're in the infraclass Marsupialia.
They're marsupials, like kangaroos and wallabies.
Like every mammal on Australia that didn't get the patch updates. Which are like, hey, it's not that efficient to have your baby prematurely born and have to crawl to another part of your body. Just keep it in the whole time.
Yeah.
Until it's done.
We got a whole brand new system for this. It's called waiting.
It's like this is like when you're making a crock pot recipe and they want you to like brown the meat on the oven on the stove top first. And it's like, I'm not trying to use two things. I'm making a crock pot recipe because it's easy.
I chose a crock pot recipe so that I could take a bunch of stuff from my freezer and dump it in there and turn it on and come back after church and have some delicious food.
It's in the order Diprotodontia. Isn't Diprotodontia something else?
This is Diprotodontia.
Yes.
Which
it's
is
not Diprotodontia, it's Protodontia. It's similar.
It's most marsupials, including kangaroos and wallabies, like I mentioned. It's the largest order of marsupials.
What family is this in? It is in the family Phascolarctidae. Phascolarctidae.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I listened to the pronunciation. Genus you're gonna make the Phascolarctos intolerant. And the species is, binomially speaking, Phactolactos cinereus.
Cinereus? Phactolactos cinereus?
Phactolactos cinereus, the pronunciation says, but I could see it being either one of those things.
The
1817 described by Goldfuss.
That's my favorite 007 movie.
George August Goldfuss. Or Fuss.
The koalas are the only extant member of their family. So it's like, oh yeah, the order is, Diprotodontia, and that's most marsupials, and then the family is just koalas. The genus is just koalas. The species is koalas. Koala, koala, koala. It might as well be at this point. Like bison, bison,
But
bison.
there are apparently 6 fossil species that used to share the family.
Right, but I feel like we once again need the patch update and just change it to koala, koala, koala. the sequel to Tora, Tora, Tora.
But then your nitty-gritty nomenclature wouldn't be as fun.
Yeah, but we're not doing nitty-gritty nomenclature because it's time for my favorite part of the show, critter groups. The part of the show where I ask you, Joe, a question, and that question is the same every time. What is the name of a group of this animal, or what is the term of venery, or what is the collective noun? If you saw a group of koalas, you would be A, surprised, but you would B, call them A, colony, B, a nettle, C, a wallop, or D, a pact.
A warlock pact. A wallop is fun. A nettle, a wallop, a pact. What was the fourth one?
The colony. That was the first one. That's A. Colony, nettle, wallop, pact.
Wallop. Final answer. That's a very Australian thing to call something.
It really is, but it's also wrong. The answer is colony.
I guess that's pretty Australian as well.
A wallop of koalas, yeah, that works. But also a wallop of wallabies would work better.
You're telling me you think that koalas live in a societal structure similar to ants? Get real.
I don't. I'm not telling you that's what I believe.
I'm talking to the taxonomists or terms of venery people. This ragtag group of charlatans and scoundrels.
Yeah, I believe that they operate in a similar fashion to human colonies. They have like their own little section, and then they go and take somebody else's section and live there. Yeah, it's a colony of koalas.
A koalany. I'll accept it if you call it a koalany.
That would okay. That's a compromise I think I'd be willing to make. Because it's definitely up to me.
Yeah. I mean, who's it up to? The board of venerists?
The board of the board of taxonomic venery enthusiasts. The TVE. There's Loki's TVA, and then there's the TVE. Much more interesting.
Much more better. A drawing of a key. Would you like to know what it looks like?
Sure, I would.
Koalas have stout, tailless bodies, round, fluffy ears, and a distinctive shiny black and spoon-shaped nose. Sounds like a bear to me, except for the spoon-shaped nose. Its fur color can vary from silver gray to chocolate brown, but its most iconic coloration is light gray with white bellies. Koalas in the north, and remember, north means warmer, closer to the equator, are smaller and lighter in color compared to southern ones. I don't know how much variation there is in Australia, temperature and climate-wise. That's not, directly related to elevation. But interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible that these populations are separate species, but there's a lot of debate. It's hard to tell. Subspecies are very close, and a lot of times it's like there's some slight genetic variation, I guess. I don't know. What makes a subspecies other than like it's got a different shaped beak and it's a little different in size.
Yeah, how is something a subspecies or a breed or a race? It's like, how is an English bulldog and an Irish setter are not subspecies, even though they look just radically different from each other.
Well, usually, if you're talking Tolkien, a race is something that's made by a different deity.
Yes. Made by a different primordial force.
But that brings us to their relative size. I have to get my phone since I threw it. Welcome to the Beloved Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show. The part of the show when we present the animal sizes and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced, but when you send in audio of yourself saying, singing, or letting out a guttural moan, the words measure up into thetaxonomy@gmail.com. We don't have a new measure up intro this week.
I was hoping for a guttural moan.
No, we'll talk about that later. So we're going to hear, I'm calling this section now something, maybe we should call it like cultural critters. Critters in the culture. Although that kind of hones in on critter groups. We're going to look at this animal in the culture by playing a reference to it.
Famous furry friends. Although they don't always have fur.
Although we're going to hear about a koala. We're not going to hear from an actual koala unless, without further ado.
I can only think of the koala from Sing anyway, so.
So unless Paul McCartney is a koala, secretly, that's a song about a koala, not by a koala. Ode?
Is that what it's called? An ode to a koala?
Ode to a Koala Bear by Paul McCartney. He says a koala type bear. It's a type of bear.
He's so wrong.
That is koala.
Well, I guess it's nice of him to keep the Beatles tradition of just wacky names for things.
I guess.
Maybe koala is a euphemism or an acronym.
My little koala type bear, I see you sitting there with your silent smile. Is this about actual bear?
No,
koalas?
There's definitely a metaphor. There's no way. It's about an actual bear.
Tell me what it's like looking out of eyes like the likes of yours. Not very good. They can't see that great. Do you find it so surprising that the likes of me likes the likes of you?
Maybe it's a stuffed bear. And it's like, oh, look at life through the eyes of my stuffed bear. I'm Paul McCartney.
The last line really kind of draws it all together. Do.
That is poetry. Love it.
I think it might be about an actual like stuffed koala bear.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk length. Koalas are 60 to 85 centimeters or 24 to 33 inches. It's about what I expected a koala to be, but I guess you do see a lot of like pictures of Steve Irwin and the other Irwins holding a koala like a baby.
Or Obama.
Or Obama, yeah. How many koalas go into the length of the confirmed kill by Sniper Sergeant Major Herbert Slay in February 1918 during the First World War?
The length of the kill? Like how far away he was?
Yeah. Here's a hint. Slay was using the standard issue M1903 Springfield rifle when he made the shot. He served in the American Expeditionary Forces on the Western Front of World War I.
I don't know. No one has written in, but I'm wondering if people are getting World War fatigue from this.
If you write in, I'll stop.
Yeah. Do something that people may not like, and then maybe you'll actually hear from someone.
Listen, if you want, I'll measure things against anything you want. Well,
Not
within
you
reason.
just opened the floodgates. Now you have
Within
to measure
reason.
it against furries and steampunk.
I'm
furries.
in control here. I can pretend like I never received the furry email.
Steampunk anime furries, the best. All right, so I'm gonna assume this shot was made at, let's say, 400 yards. This is what, World War One. That was a long time ago. So we'll say 500 yards. It's just a nice. I bet you. Oh no, it's probably like more than that, isn't it? 1,000. That's a lot, but not impossible. Optics weren't very good back then, though.
Would you like to hear one of the length of one of the longest ones ever?
No, because it's anchoring. 500.
One of them, not the, but one of them was made by an Australian.
Oh, there's
in
some relevance.
Afghanistan. Yeah. Not this one though.
$545. Koala bear lengths.
Final answer.
Yeah.
The correct answer is 505 plus 1,000.
Oh.
1,505 koalas. The shot was 1,280 meters or 1,400 yards long.
That is a long shot. I almost said 1,000, but it still wouldn't have been a victory.
I could have told you one from the American Civil War, which was 1,300 yards.
Oh, wow. Really?
I guess at a certain point, it's just like
luck. It's just like you fired and it hit somebody at that point.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably talk about the shot from the top of the French ramparts that killed Richard the First. So that's probably pretty long too. Let's talk weight. They're 4 to 15 kilograms or 9 to 33 pounds. 33 pounds and 33 inches?
Yeah.
Pretty perfect. Pretty good. So how many unloaded Beaumont Adams revolvers go into the weight of a koala?
Another gun.
Here's a hint.
This is like one time when my father-in-law was like, "Oh, I like scotch," and for the next like 6 years, the only thing any of us got him was scotch, and he was like, "Okay." I would appreciate a different birthday present or Father's Day gift.
Grown men are difficult to shop for, and rightfully so. I think it's good for you to be difficult to shop for because that means you have
what
get
you
stuff
want
for yourself, and you don't require things from others. You're self-sufficient. So you got to be careful when you're like a dad, because if you tell anyone you like something, you're getting that for Christmas forever.
Well, it's nice to be like a collector or something, where it's like you could just get me one, but then it's like, oh, I already have that one. Yeah, buying gifts for grown men is pretty tough. Because it's like, what do I get? Would I get you decorations? Although Bibby did get me this steampunk octopus that I have in this room, and I love it.
Whiskey's a good gift, though. Consumables are a good gift.
No, consumables are a bad gift. I I do not want a gift that will not be in, a couple of weeks or whatever.
I do. I don't want clutter. I buy the permanent things for myself.
I guess I would want it more than clutter, but what I want is something useful more than stuff.
Something that is very useful that you really like that lasts for a long time. That's a great gift, but it's tough to get. So I usually tell people like, get me a consumable, or because then I will appreciate. There's a lot of consumables like really nice soap. I'm not gonna buy myself really nice soap, but I'll appreciate it if I get it.
Oh man, I would not appreciate nice soap. I can't tell the difference. Also,
nice soap, other stuff.
All Scotch tastes like gasoline to me, so I can't tell the difference between that either.
Don't drink gasoline. You shouldn't even know what that tastes like.
I take a sip. I indulge here and there.
My strange addiction.
It's a sip for the car, sip for me, sip for the chef.
Yeah, one while you're cooking.
All right, 33 pounds.
Here's a hint. The Beaumont Adams revolver is a British revolver that was used by the British Army.
Really?
From 1856 to 1880 until it was replaced by the Enfield MK1. However, it was a popular sidearm during World War II among Australian Volunteer Defence Corps. The Australian Volunteer Defence Corps. The VDC was initially made up of World War I veterans tasked with home defense and preparing for guerrilla warfare in the case of invasion.
Revolvers are pretty hefty because there aren't any plastic pieces in there.
This is called a recoil revolver, which I think means that it uses the momentum of recoil to revolve the revolver. Is that the case?
I don't know. The revolving the revolver, the cylinder. Yeah, I guess I don't know what mechanism does that. On my revolver, it's the cocking of the hammer.
Yeah,
because it's a double action revolver. I'm gonna say a pound. 16 ounces. So 33. That's easy. It's easy math. 33 revolvers.
33.
Going to the weight of this Koala.
A percussion revolver, not a recoil revolver. A percussion revolver is one that makes a sick beat.
Yeah, I know. It's.
I would imagine percussion revolver is just one with a hammer.
But not a hammer, a drumstick.
That'd be pretty fun. Just hear like the
a snare drum every time you shoot.
The bongos from the Donkey Kong bongos every time like your platoon is marching into whatever. Final answer. 33 revolvers.
Yeah.
The correct answer was 13. The Beaumont Adams revolver was 2.4 pounds or 1.1 kilograms.
Yep. I thought about
it's really hard to like. If you would have asked me the weight of a pistol, any pistol, that would have been difficult, especially an old heavy pistol.
Well, that's the thing. I have
really heavy.
I have a revolver that it's just all metal, but it's a snub nose, and it's from the 60s. So I'm thinking, a full, 3-inch barrel revolver from the, late 19th century would probably be a chunk of metal, right? Who knows? I mean, we know now. It's a little over 2 pounds.
Yeah. Would you like to hear some fast facts before we get into the major fact?
Sure.
Koalas are arboreal creatures that live in eastern Australia in open woodlands. Like most marsupials, they are born before they are fully developed. After being born, a baby koala, also called a joey, which is a
Yeah.
fact that I loathed as a child because every time we learned it in class, everyone would be like, "You're a koala, you're a kangaroo." And like I hear this every time. Every time. I'm not one. I'm more sophisticated than a marsupial, thank you.
No one referenced Friends in your school?
No, I mean, we were all Seinfeld. We were a Seinfeld school.
They weren't
After
watching
being
Nat
born
Geo and said this is a Joey heavy episode.
Yeah, no. After being born, a baby koala climbs up into its mother's pouch. It's like a little kidney bean making its way uptown, crawling fast. Even though it's blind and deaf, the joey uses its strong sense of touch and smell to navigate. I didn't hear that it not just deaf but earless. Does that mean like the ears situation is completely undeveloped? I don't know. The koala's brain is only 60% of the typical diprotodonts brain to body. It's a 60% brain. I don't know what 60% means. It weighs an average of 19 grams. Is it 60% ratio? Is it
I don't know.
body to brain ratio?
You did the brain research, right?
The means that means it has one of the lowest brain to body ratios among mammals. So when we're talking mammals, they're dumb. I know, like if you like, oh, they're not dumb. Like look at a lizard, it's dumb. We're talking mammals here. The brain's surface is fairly smooth, so all the thoughts slide right off of it.
Slippery thoughts.
The brain only takes up to 61% of the cranial cavity, and the rest is filled with fluid. This waterbed head makes the koala concussion resistant, which helps it if it were to fall out of a tree, and it's likely to fall out of a tree because it's a big dumb idiot. The little brain is energy efficient. No think, only salads and naps. And we'll talk about energy efficiency later, I assume.
Yeah.
Koalas don't have great eyesight, but they find food by smelling the oils on branches, zeroing in on their coveted tree salads. But they're so dim that if you take the leaves off of the tree and put it on a plate in front of it, it won't know what to do with this array you've set before it. Because it's not good with out of routine actions and behaviors.
I think it's less that it's dumb and more that it's just curmudgeon.
No. It's a big dumb dummy, and that's fine for it. It works. Because if it were smarter, it would burn more and we'd have problems. We would need more energy.
I see it as okay, we have Elbow's Kraft macaroni and cheese, and Mason likes it. But if we have Shell macaroni and cheese, Kraft macaroni and cheese, same everything, except for the shape of the shell, suddenly we have a problem. Suddenly this is intolerable refuse on the plate in front of him.
Well, that's just like routine.
It's the same food in a different format. It's the normal food in PDF format, and just can't understand.
Well, and babies are arguably not as smart as adults.
That's true. That's a very contentious statement.
If there was a koala choir, they would all be basses. The koala larynx is located low in the vocal tract, and they have unique velar vocal folds. And Galadriel will diminish and go there, apparently. I don't know what velar vocal folds are, but they contribute. They are one of the features that I just mentioned that contribute to comically lower vocal sounds than you would expect from a creature this size.
So any like cartoon koala, you'd expect to hear like a really high pitched thing, but instead it's like, "Hey Bob."
Yeah, yeah. If you look up a video of a koala sound, and it is haunting. It's very strange. Sounds like a monster.
It is a monster. Look at it.
But that's all I've got. Do you have any big facts?
I have a few fast facts just in case that I came across that didn't fit into the major fact. They are asocial animals, and they spend about 15 minutes a day on social behaviors, which I can totally get behind.
But they live in a colony, so they should be eusocial.
They don't really. I mean, if a group of them are together, it's called a colony, but it does not function like a colony. They do not like each other very much.
Is that because they're in a colony because they don't feel at home with other individuals?
Yeah, they're always they're always colonizing. They're always just in their outside of their element. Koalas hug trees not because it's adorable, but they want to lose heat without panting because it's very hot in Australia. Koalas also have a dark scent gland on the middle of their chest, and that marks trees while they hug. It's like, hey, this is my hugging tree.
I thought they hug trees because they have short arms, and that's the only way they can exist on a tree.
No, they could hang upside down like a sloth, or they could sit, I suppose. But they hug trees because it allows for the transference of heat, and also they can mark them using their chests. But the big thing is that koalas can and often do carry the bacteria chlamydia.
Oh, that's right. I was going to talk about that, but yes.
Yes, which is in humans a sexually transmitted disease, but it is a bacteria, highly infectious, and it is theorized to control the koala population so forests aren't completely stripped of their leaves. It causes infertility, blindness, and the worst UTI imaginable. This can be transferred to people. Not in the way you might be thinking, but if you come into contact with infected koala urine, you have the potential to contract this disease. And that is not impossible considering that koalas are basically incontinent and will just go when the spirit is upon them. The University of Melbourne says that as many as half of all koalas are infected, which does not seem right considering that it is fatal. But
is it?
They did the research, not me.
Maybe you can be infected. Maybe it's a situation where you can be infected but not symptomatic.
Yeah, maybe. But it's a bacteria, so I don't know. But anyway, those are some fast facts. The major fact is I'm calling Eucalyptus smacking good. Eucalyptus smacking good? Yeah, there we go.
That's good.
The foliage of over 600 species of eucalyptus, man, I'm going to have a hard time with this, are present in Australia. The koala shows a strong preference for just about 30 of those species. But the majority of their diet is made up of eucalyptus leaves. Now it's not exclusive, but it is the majority. It's kind of like a panda bear. It's like we found the plant. We found the food. This is it. I'm only eating this. They tend to choose koalas tend to choose species of eucalyptus that have higher protein and lower amounts of fiber. These eucalyptus leaves also have high water content, which means that they don't have to drink very often, which is why they're called no drink. It's like, hey, look at that funny looking fur ball on that tree. Let's watch it for a few days and see if it needs water. No. All right. Then we're going to call this one no drink. Next animal.
It's in AA.
It's got
they
its
watched it
it's got
attend
its
some
chip.
meetings.
It's got its 5-year chip.
Yes.
Females can meet their water requirements pretty much exclusively by eating leaves, so they pretty much never have to drink. But larger males that need more water will occasionally have to go to the ground to get to drink from puddles or small ponds or tree hollows. But because they don't get a lot of fiber from the leaves, they can only extract about 25% of the fiber they ingest. So it needs to eat a lot, and that's up to 2 pounds of leaves per day. I saw all kinds. Like I looked up the volume, and some places said 400 grams, which is a lot less than 2 pounds. But others said up to 2 pounds. Some said more than 2 pounds. So I'm going to land at 2 pounds of leaves per day. And it can eat 4 to 6 times a day. So it actually consumes quite a bit of food. But it's all just the eucalyptus leaves. And the problem with eucalyptus leaves is that it's toxic. It actually has a chemical structure that is similar to cyanide, which is why I called it the Jim Jones Joey. But koalas have a digestive system that is uniquely suited to process eucalyptus leaves and to filter out the toxin. They have special liver enzymes and symbiotic gut bacteria that are present in a specialized organ called so I forgot, what did we call this? Because the Hoatzin bird has one of these. A cecum? A caecum? I don't know. Caecum. Cecum, I think, is what it's called. But it is a part of the digestive. It is an organ in the digestive system that is meant to break down leaves in animals that otherwise are not supposed to break down leaves, like the Hoatzin bird, like the koala. But these enzymes, this gut bacteria, and this specialized organ allow it to eat a diet of pretty much exclusively eucalyptus leaves and their toxins. But they don't get this bacteria naturally. Most mother koalas excrete a runny fecal substance called pap that the baby joey eats, and that introduces the correct gut fauna it needs to be able to eat the eucalyptus leaves it will eat for the rest of its life.
You know what that reminds me of?
What?
The panda bear.
That was
which
the animal.
Does the same thing.
I remember, I was like, this is just like another animal we recently talked about. And I know we didn't talk about the panda bear recently, but I looked back through our catalog and I was like, which one of these animals does this exact thing where the mother has to transfer bacteria in order to its babies in order for digestion? And I guess it must have been the panda bear, but I feel like there was one that was more recent. But yeah, it turns out these animals are not supposed to be eating the food that they are eating, but they figured out a way to make it work. Their diet actually makes them smell like eucalyptus, which acts as a natural insect repellent. So that's kind of nice. But the overall, the takeaway from this is that these leaves do not provide a lot of energy. They have a high protein content for a leaf, but it's not a lot. There isn't a lot going on. There aren't a lot of carbs. There's very low sugars in these leaves. So it has to have the koala has to have a low energy lifestyle in order to despite the fact that it eats 2 pounds of leaves a day, it's just not enough to keep this mammal moving. So they have koalas have low fat reserves. They need to eat all the time, and they need to limit their energy use and apparently think no thoughts. And they sleep, or at least rest, up to 20 hours a day. They actually have some koalas at the Miami Zoo, and they specifically say, like, hey, please don't wake up the koalas. They really need to sleep. So they sleep or rest up to 20 hours a day, and in those other 4 hours, they are eating 2 pounds of leaves. That's a life.
Imagine being full and tired. Every hour of the day for them is right after lunch. It's the after lunch church nap, after lunch Sunday nap.
I can think of another creature that basically just eats and sleeps, and I have one in my house.
And won't eat specific types of food?
No. Well, yes, but infants. That's all. They are either ravenously hungry and eating, and then after that they go to sleep. Which, I mean, that's not so bad, right?
No. Well, I mean, imagine like if you were like increasing your body mass at the rate that they do. It's like I need to charge up. I need a lot of food, a lot of sleeping, because I'm making more me, and you're welcome for that.
Yeah, how much sleep do you think Captain America needed when he went from like a little scrawny dude to the Chris
He
Evans
went for a
we
run
know
right
of
afterwards,
today?
so.
Yeah, he went for a Nazi run right after that.
Yeah.
The Hulk was probably like exhausted.
He went on a run to get Nazi Thorn Oaken shield.
That's not Richard Armitage.
It sure is.
No, it's not. Anyway, while you're looking that up, do you have anything else on the koala? We are way over time.
That's all I've got.
All right. For you out there in podcasting, eat your pap. Keep your chlamydia to yourself. And eat your toxic leafy greens like the koala here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, I just want to remind you that we now have a Patreon. Patrons can see full video episodes and get shoutouts on the show. But ultimately, it's a way for you to help us cover some costs and get even better. Still, reviews are the best way to help us grow. So if you haven't left one yet, we'd really love to hear from you. As always, thanks for listening and engaging.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
It is Richard Armitage.
It's Richard Armitage?